12 News at 10 starts now.
Those stories and more in just moments, but first, breaking news happening tonight on 12 News at 10 o'clock. Tonight, the FBI says that 2 teens now in custody in connection to a weekend mass shooting that killed 2 people, including a rookie officer. 22-year-old Joshua Breeze shot and killed while responding to a disturbance call early yesterday morning on the Gila River Reservation. 6 people in total shot. Investigators say a bystander also killed. A second officer was hurt along with 3 other people. Tonight, we've learned the teens in custody are 18 and 16 years old, both currently receiving medical care. Their families telling 12 News tonight the 2 are brothers who were also shot during that incident early Saturday morning. In just the last few hours, new video obtained by 12 News giving us our first look at that scene as it happened. Tonight, we do want to warn you about what you're about to see could be disturbing for some. 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra going through that new video frame by frame tonight. Gabby, what did it show?
Well, Jonathan, there are still more questions than answers at this time, but that video gives us our first glimpse at what could have happened.
Video shared with 12 News shows the chaotic scene outside a Santan home unfolding. We edited the video to blur and crop out faces, but you can hear tasers activated and gunshots. I spoke with a person who says they were at the dance at the time of the shooting. I am not naming them because they are afraid.
It was scary. I was scared when I heard the gunshots. We all dropped to the ground, me and my siblings.
The shooting happened after Gila River police say they responded to a disturbance call involving a large crowd of people early Saturday morning.
How quickly would you say all of this unfolded?
It happened so quick.
Police say a total of 6 people were shot. 2 died from their injuries, including Gila River police officer Joshua Breeze and a bystander that FBI has not yet identified. Remnants of the party can be seen from Sky 12 as the FBI still works to piece together what happened. Gila River police did not provide any additional information today.
So, Gabby, so many unanswered questions still in this investigation. What comes next?
Well, Jonathan, an FBI spokesperson says once the investigation is complete, it'll be handed over to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Arizona for a charging decision. But that remains to be seen. For now, in studio, Gabriella Becerra, 12 News.
Gabby, thanks so much. Developing tonight, a man is dead after being shot and killed by Phoenix police officers this afternoon. The scene near 12th Street and McDowell. Breaking news on 12 News at 5:30 this evening. Police say they were called to check out an armed robbery around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Once again, we do want to warn you that details of this story could be disturbing for some folks to hear. Those are the sound of bullets as that shooting unfolded. Tonight, police say it all happened as a person was being robbed during a private transaction. After that robbery, the victim calling 911. Officers say they later found the suspect on a motorcycle inside of an alley. Police say as officers approached that suspect, that suspect pointed a gun at officers who then fired.
It's very distressing. It's a very safe neighborhood. People have lived here for dozens of years. We all know each other. I don't know if you stepped in the alley, but we've redecorated it. We've hung up artwork, put in rugs. We just all view this as a very safe.
Investigators say that man later died at the hospital. So far, his name has not been released. No officers were hurt. Also developing tonight, Phoenix police investigating an apparent murder-suicide between roommates. Officers called to a home near Greenway Road and Tatum Boulevard. They say when they arrived, they found 44-year-old Ryan Lemming dead from a gunshot wound. 55-year-old James Quinn reportedly died from a self-inflicted wound. Tonight, there's no motive on what led up to that shooting. Meanwhile, Phoenix firefighters working to figure out what sparked a house fire that killed several dogs. That fire happening this morning near 24th Street in Washington. Crews arrived to find flames spreading to nearby homes. Firefighters say they did find a number of dogs inside and used bags to try to resuscitate them. Unfortunately, many of them did not survive. Now to the very latest on the wildfire danger across Arizona this Sunday evening. At last check, the spring fire burning near Highway 87 in Sunflower has now scorched more than 4,000 acres and is at 0% containment. Crews battling the flames in the air and on the ground, but the rugged terrain is making the firefight tough for those crews. Right now, a single north lane in that area along Highway 87 is open to traffic. Also, a temporary flight restriction has been placed over the area, so if you are in that area, make sure not to fly your drones or else you could be fined. Our fire danger only going to escalate as we move into this new work week. Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries here on tap with a look at what we can expect. Temperatures definitely expected to climb in the coming days, Ginger.
Yeah, we've got the attention of the National Weather Service. In fact, they have issued an excessive heat watch. Now, look at this graphic. It doesn't go into place until Wednesday night and expires Thursday night. But also, notice we are getting ready for temperatures that could be in the 110 zone. So here's the forecast, and then these are the records. On Wednesday, 109, 111 Thursday, that's going to meet the record, and 110 on Friday, the record 115. I think if we're going to snap a record, it's going to happen on Thursday, but no matter how you slice it, folks, we've got summertime heat coming our way. Again, starting on Wednesday, that's when that excessive heat watch is. For tomorrow, we've got ample sunshine. You're going to start seeing a couple thin clouds moving into the northern part of the state, and daytime highs are elevated. 101 the norm. Instead, we're going for a high of 104. So I'm talking about high clouds and high temperatures. Also, this excessive heat watch that goes into play. But get this. Are we also looking at rain on the way this week? I'm tracking that coming up. My full forecast. Jonathan.
Definitely need some. Ginger, thank you. It's Election Day in Mexico, and a historic election, with Mexicans set to elect their very first woman as president this weekend, and for the very first time, Phoenix becoming one of 20 voting locations here in America for that election. 12 News journalist Trisha Hendricks talking with voters who lined up to cast their vote.
It was a packed parking lot at the Mexican consulate in Phoenix on Sunday as hundreds of people lined up to vote for Mexico's presidential election.
I'm happy.
Gabriel Vielmas, a volunteer, tells us he was the first in line to vote.
Did you sleep here?
Yes, I'm sleeping here. I'm the first people who can vote.
Marissa Ramirez, visiting from Oaxaca, Mexico, lined up to cast her ballot.
It's time to vote.
After all, this year could be one of Mexico's biggest elections.
This is very important, I think, for all of us.
Mexicans are set to give the nation its first female president, a groundbreaking development in a country where women couldn't cast ballots for president until 1954.
Having a woman as a president, I think that's one of the best things that we can happen.
Frontrunners for the coveted spot, Claudia Sheinbaum from the current reigning political party, and Xochitl Galvez, who has gained traction.
We want to be part of this.
The Mexican consulate in Phoenix is one of 20 approved sites in the U.S., with 1,500 ballots available for Mexican citizens with a valid electoral ID who did not register to vote abroad by the February deadline.
We're our number 1,029.
Something that's meaningful for people like Yvette Rasmussen, who's originally from Mexico City, but now lives in Queen Creek.
It is nice to be able to see how many of our citizens, even though we're here in the States, are still participating in elections.
Whoever's elected, what do you hope they do first?
We want to make sure that there's more opportunities for all the entrepreneurs.
Voters like Marcos Garcia Acosta from Chandler hope Mexico's next president tackles the most important issues at hand.
In Mexico, it is definitely going to be security.
Like reducing crime and creating more opportunity.
More opportunities for the English language.
In Phoenix, Trisha Hendricks, 12 News.
New at 10 o'clock tonight, tomorrow will mark 60 years since Dr. Martin Luther King delivered a powerful message before 8,000 people on the campus of ASU. The speech, called Religious Witness for Human Dignity, centered on his push for civil rights for African Americans. A month later, the historic Civil Rights Act was signed into law. But tonight, we reflect on the impact still being felt from that visit some 60 years later. In the heart of downtown Phoenix, historic Tanner AME Church continues to write a story nearly 140 years old.
I knew that it had historical significance in the community.
Pastor Benjamin Thomas has led this congregation since 1991 and learned many of the stories from some of the city's most influential black leaders who were members.
Calvin C. Good, Clovis Campbell Sr.
60 years ago, in June 1964, those Phoenix pioneers packing into the pews of the church with hundreds more standing outside to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talk about the growing need for civil rights for African Americans. King's message, delivered from the same pulpit that Thomas offers words of hope and inspiration every single Sunday. He calls it an honor.
What are some of the things that you were able to, learn from them, from that experience and that moment from his visit here?
One of the things that I learned is that Dr. King, when he was here, said he really wanted to connect with the community.
Dr. King's visit to Tanner coming just before he delivered a speech before 8,000 people on the campus of ASU that very same day.
You kind of forget how much controversy he generated and how a lot of people didn't want him coming to their town.
Dr. Kinja Hassan is an assistant vice president of government and community engagement at ASU and says at the time it was a big risk by then President G. Homer Durham to give permission for King to speak on campus.
Our Black population is very small, but they are willing to take a stand.
That visit coming just 1 month before the historic Civil Rights Act was signed into law by then President Lyndon Johnson.
I think a lot of Arizonans may not think of their state as some place where advocacy of that nature happens, but it very much is.
Thomas says disparities in education, healthcare, housing, and voting rights were some of the big issues that Dr. King fought for. Those issues are still being fought, he says, to this day. And 60 years after that visit, the story of the impact is still being written.
Because through his life and that movement, a lot of doors have been opened.
Many events taking place on the campus of ASU tomorrow in honor of that day.